Hey, welcome back. It is Chris Niccolls here with Bow River Troutfitters, and today Jeff, Elliott, and myself are out here on the Bow River fishing. It's early June, and what we want to do is teach you guys about what to expect on the Bow River throughout the different seasons. We get a lot of customers who are wondering when's a good time to come fish the bow, when should I get guided, that kind of stuff. As well, you guys might just be wondering what different tactics and hatches are you going to find throughout the year. Now, because we're fishing early June, I would say this is the very tail end of our spring season. Spring season starts around mid-April. That's when temperatures start to warm up here in Alberta. May can be really beautiful, although a little bit wet with the rain sometimes. And then early June is good, but then it starts to get into runoff as we get into later June. Water gets high, and that dramatically changes the fishing before we get into our summer season. So let's talk about a lot of the tactics that'll help you catch more fish in springtime. So first, let's talk about the water levels, because this is an interesting thing that happens in spring. Of course, as we get runoff, as we get snow melt and rain, the water starts to rise. Now, mid-April, water's still very low, very clear. You know where the fish are going to be. They'll still be in their wintering holes. But as you transition into May and then June, as the water rises, the fish are going to start coming into the banks. So what I would say is this: if you do get a quick uplift of water, sometimes the fishing's not going to be great until it steadies out for a couple days. You know, let that water rise, level out, and either stay the same or even come down a little bit, and you're golden. That's a great time to fish. You're going to see anything from like 60 cubic meters per second early in the season up to now we're about 125 cubic meters per second. And then of course, as we get into runoff, it's just going to go crazy. So while we're on the topic of water, I want to talk about visibility, because this is something that a lot of beginner anglers ask us about. So of course, when we're talking about early season, April, water's going to be clean and clear and low, right? If anything, you want to be careful you don't spook fish. But as we get into May and then June, we get that snow melt, we get rain, we get a lot of the smaller tributaries starting to flush out, and what that can do is add some silt to the water. So here's the general rule of thumb. Fishing on the bow, you actually don't need that much visibility. I mean, honestly, we kind of gauge around 18 inches. If you're getting 18 inches, that's a good time to fish. Right now, it's early June. We do have some snow melting, but the river's like 2 to 3 feet of visibility, which is just perfect. So that stained water not only makes the fish more comfortable, it means you can get closer to them, and so that's good visibility. If you start to drop below that as runoff really kicks in, that's when it's time to maybe take a break and let the fish breathe a bit. All right, guys, so let's talk about the hatches that we can expect this time of year. So as the water starts to warm up, we certainly get a lot more bug life. We'll have midges all year round, but now we're starting to see blueing olives. Around Mother's Day, we do start to get caddis on the water, and they're going to go all through summer into the fall, absolutely. Blueing olives, PMDs. We sometimes get a squala hatch, and then we always try to time the stonefly hatch, and that's going to be around the end of June. It can be tricky because that is also when the water starts to rise for runoff. Some years, it's stellar getting up at 4 in the morning, throwing stoneflies in the dark. Sometimes the water gets too high and we just kind of miss that hatch. But fear not, because those stonefly hatches carry right through into July. Around Stampede here when we're celebrating, actually you can have amazing stonefly fishing. So that's more of a summer thing we can talk about in another episode. As far as flies go, as the water starts to warm up, big streamers work great. Today it's been black leeches, nothing but black leeches, and fairly large ones. Certainly you can nymph with caddis nymphs or any sort of standard nymph that you like to use. But around this time of year as well, look for that glassy water, because that's where we're going to see fish rising. And as we see here, we actually did get some dry fly action, throwing small caddis to those rising fish. So as you can see on the bank here, we're getting a lot of greenery now. Everything's in bloom. It's a beautiful time of year, but it can also be an unpredictable time of year as far as weather goes. So if you are going to come fish the bow in the springtime, absolutely make sure you've got a sweater with you. I mean, it started at 6 degrees this morning, raining, it was cold. Rain jacket, very important to have as well. But now we got the sun coming out, it's up to about 16 degrees. The Bow River can change weather all times of year quite rapidly, but certainly springtime can be unpredictable. So bring layers and make sure you're prepared with the right clothing. All right, so Elliott just caught a beautiful brown trout. In fact, we've all been blessed with really nice brown trout today. It's been fantastic on the water. And, you know, this time of year, water temperatures are still gonna be a little bit cooler. So It's that perfect temperature where the fish have lots of oxygen, but they also have lots of energy. We're getting good fights today. I mean, they're pulling hard. We're doing lots of retrieve speeds and varying it up, but honestly, on fast retrieves, these fish seem to be chasing right to the boat. They're aggressive and they want to eat. So this is actually one of the best times to come out and fish. Springtime on the Bow as well doesn't tend to be as crowded. You are going to start to see more and more crowds as we get into June, and of course, July and August. Summertime is probably the most popular time. But if you're looking for a really nice time to fish the Bow, where the weather, although unpredictable, can be really nice and not too cold, and at the same time the fish are very active and very eager, and you also have dry fly opportunities, coming around April, May, June, that could be a really good time to float the Bow. All right, so if you're a local here in Calgary and you want to fish the Bow River this time of year, come into the shop and ask us any questions. We'd be happy to help you out. But otherwise, if you're a client that's looking to visit the famous Bow River and you want to have a good idea of the seasons, this is definitely one of the best ones. But we are going to make videos for summer, fall, winter, absolutely, just to explain all the different seasons that the Bow has to offer. This is truly an all year round fishery. And if you are going to fish with us here at this time of year, remember the guides will provide all the gear that you need, but otherwise just bring a good stout streamer rod, maybe a nymphing rig, but also be ready for dry fly action. Bring those caddis, bring leech patterns, bring flashy streamers, and an assortment of nymphs if you want to bring your own flies. That'll all work right now this time of year. Leave your comments below, or any questions, leave those below as well. We'll absolutely answer those right down there. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you soon with more on Bow River Troutfitters.